In the early 16th century, England experienced one of the most significant religious and political transformations in its history. At the center of this change stood King Henry VIII, a ruler whose decisions reshaped the English monarchy, the church, and the future of the nation. This documentary explores why Henry VIII separated England from the Catholic Church, not through controversy or accusation, but through historical context, political realities, and personal motivations that defined the era. Before Henry VIII's reign, England was a devoutly Catholic kingdom. The Pope in Rome was recognized as the spiritual authority, and English kings traditionally defended Catholic doctrine. Ironically, Henry VIII himself was once a strong supporter of the Catholic Church. In fact, the Pope awarded him the title Defender of the Faith for opposing Protestant ideas. At this stage, Henry had no intention of breaking from Rome. The Tudor dynasty was still relatively new and unstable. Henry VIII's greatest concern was succession, ensuring a male heir to secure political stability and prevent civil war. His marriage to Catherine of Aragon produced only one surviving child, Princess Mary. At the time, female rulers were widely considered risky for political continuity. Henry began to believe that his lack of a male heir was a divine warning, a belief influenced by religious interpretations common in the 1500s. Henry sought an annulment, not a divorce, a critical distinction. An annulment would declare the marriage invalid from the start, allowing Henry to remarry without challenging Catholic doctrine directly. However, the Pope faced immense political pressure, especially from Catherine's nephew, Emperor Charles V, one of the most powerful rulers in Europe. As a result, the Pope delayed and ultimately refused Henry's request. This refusal deeply frustrated the English king. Over time, Henry's frustration evolved into a broader question: why should a foreign authority control England's religious decisions? Advisors like Thomas Cromwell encouraged the idea that the king himself should hold supreme authority within his own realm. This was not initially about theology, but about sovereignty and governance. Between 1532 and 1534, Parliament passed a series of laws that gradually reduced papal authority in England. The most important was the Act of Supremacy, which declared the king as the supreme head of the Church of England. This change allowed Henry to annul his marriage legally and remarry under English law. It was a political and legal transformation, not an overnight religious revolution. Despite the break from Rome, Henry VIII remained Catholic in belief for much of his life. Mass, rituals, and doctrines largely stayed the same. Protestant reforms expanded more significantly after his reign, particularly under Edward VI and Elizabeth I. Henry's priority was control, not religious reform. The separation led to major changes: dissolution of monasteries, transfer of church wealth to the crown, increased royal authority, and long-term religious tension in England. These effects shaped English history for generations. Modern historians agree that Henry VIII's break from the Catholic Church was driven by multiple factors: dynastic security, political independence, legal authority, and personal circumstances. It was not a single emotional decision, but a gradual and calculated transformation shaped by the realities of 16th-century Europe. Henry VIII's separation from the Catholic Church was one of the most defining moments in English history. It redefined the monarchy, altered religious authority, and laid the foundation for modern England. Understanding this event requires us to look beyond myths and focus on historical context, political strategy, and human decision-making. History, after all, is rarely simple and rarely driven by one cause.